We believe the purpose of owning a business is funding your perfect life. Welcome to the next generation of growth and opportunity in the inspection industry. This is the Empire State of Mind. Empire State of Mind. Helping build companies with faster growth, higher profits, and more time freedom. Finally, a podcast for the home inspection industry and beyond. This is the Empire State of Mind. And this is your host, Matt Williams.
Welcome to the show. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to be here. I'm glad that you are listening, and we have a phenomenal day planned, a phenomenal episode planned. I have a good friend of mine that's joining us. I know him, but I'm so excited. Maybe you know him, but I hope we all get to know him a little bit better. Today, we are welcoming Curtis Larson. Hey, Curtis, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is really exciting. We were kind of talking a little bit last week and getting to know each other a little bit better. And I got to tell you, I'm just so inspired by your story and how you've been growing the industry. So first off, let's get some people to kind of get to know you a little bit. Curtis, who are you? Tell me about your life and a little bit about your company.
Yeah, Curtis Larson. I'm out of Minneapolis, Marigold Home Inspections. I have a wife, 2 kids. We live in a northern suburb of Minneapolis. I mean, our family loves, my kids' sports activities are kind of what our life centers around besides business. And then we do a lot of seasonal camping up here in Minnesota. Our winters suck pretty bad. So being able to do something fun during the summer and get out to the lake is kind of a great hobby of ours. Yeah, we started our business in 2018, Marigold. So we haven't been around very long here.
So yeah, that's a pretty young company. So I got to hear about these winters. See, I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the desert. I mean, every once in a while it'll dust a little bit of snow in the winter, and it'll melt off within an hour or two, maybe 3 if we have a really cold front. You know, talk to me about this because it's a foreign concept to me. How much snow do you get, and like, is it just you're just shut into the house for months, or what is it?
It's not that bad, but I would say other parts of the nation get a better version of the snow than we do. In Minnesota, it just gets so cold that the snow becomes crusty. It's not nearly as enjoyable It's not like that fluffy stuff that you see in Colorado or up in the UP in Michigan, where everyone's all excited. We get doses of that, but then it never leaves. So basically, from the end of November, it won't be gone till sometimes beginning of April. I mean, our last snow can be sometimes beginning of May. My wife's birthday is May 1st, and it snowed on her birthday a couple times. So
wow.
But it's not that cold. It's cold, but I mean, it moves. You got to find stuff to do. That's why we inspect homes.
Man, I think I opened my pool on May 1st this year.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I would take the dry, hot heat that we got here over that. But I mean, there's homes to be inspected everywhere. So you started in 2018, and where did you come from before starting your own inspection company? What did you do before that?
Yeah, so I was an accountant previous to becoming a home inspector. I know
that's a big jump, man.
Natural transition.
Just super. Yeah. Smooth and natural, yeah.
And so I was an accountant. I had a business with my father. We provided sports officials around the Twin Cities. So all those youth sporting events, me and my dad did about 16,000 games a year where we had all these independent contractors that went and ref basketball and baseball and football. And any sport. We did everything but ice and water, we said. So no hockey, no water polo, nothing like that. And then coming from accounting, I was looking, a friend of mine was looking at buying a home inspection company, and he asked me to do a business evaluation of it. So I did a business valuation of it. And I had never thought of home inspecting as a real job. I mean, I used a home inspector when I bought a house, but I never even thought about it as a potential career path. And so when I started looking at it, the numbers, I'm like, I could really enjoy this. So, yeah, that's kind of where I was prior. And then to get into it, I had 2 guys that I found that would mentor me. So for the first year, I was still working in the corporate world. And what I would do is I would ask them if there was inspections for me to go on at night, and I worked for them for free. I said, hey, I'll come work for free as long as you will let me ask you all the questions I want. And they were like,
Wow.
okay. So about a couple of times a week, I'd go out with them, and they'd be like, hey, go in that attic. Hey, look at that crawl space. You want to go in there? Give me the serial number off of that furnace, and that's kind of how I got going.
That's incredible to put in that much effort and work and diligence. Like, yeah, you want to build anything good in life, it's going to take a lot of work and sacrifice. And for you, like that self-sacrifice that you made of like, I'm just going to do this for free just to learn. Like that's mind blowing, man. That's really impressive. And now we were talking last week, and you were kind of growing a little bit. I think you said you had like yourself and another person, like 2 inspectors going, and then 2 years ago, you made a shift and you grew. I think you said up to 7 inspectors in the last 2 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we have our 7th inspector. We'll be finishing training. This is being recorded in August, and our 7th inspector will be starting next week. And then we just extended an offer to an 8th inspector that will be starting training on September 1st. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow, that's just fantastic, man. So what happened what happened 2 years ago that you decided, like, I'm going to make this kind of a change? I mean, I imagine it wasn't by accident. Like, these people didn't actually show up at your place. So what happened 2 years ago where you're like, you know what, let's do this thing?
So when I started my inspection company, we'll rewind just a little bit. At the end of that 1 year of following on these other inspectors, I said to them, hey, why don't you let me join you? I can show you some like cool tools that we can help grow your business. We can have a website. I mean, these were really old school guys. I'm like, we can have a website. You can have Facebook, Instagram. I know. And cutting edge, man, cutting edge. Right. They were taking pictures on their camera, uploading it, and basically writing a report through an Excel spreadsheet. It looked actually really nice, but it was a lot of work for them. I'm like, hey, they have software for this.
Wow.
They were, at the end of it, they were like, I don't know that we want to partner. We're kind of on the end of our tenure doing this. They're looking at retiring in the next couple of years. They're like, we don't want to change. I don't want to learn how to use a tablet or anything like that. And so when they, at that point, they just said, I think you should go on your own. So when I started on my own, my initial plan was to have a group of 5 inspectors, 3 office staff, and we'll just be one little happy family. So my goal is never to be just a solo inspector. I enjoy people. That was one of the things that drew me to home inspecting. I enjoyed the work away from people. You had independent work for the first couple hours you're in that house, and then you have the client facing time, and I really enjoy all those aspects of it. So I also wanted to have a team alongside me because it helps motivate me when I have someone to give a high five when we're doing great things, and also to like pick me up when we're like, oh, maybe we went the wrong direction on that one.
Everybody needs a hype man, bro. Everybody.
Yeah. That's right.
You got to have people hyping you up. And man, this world can be so discouraging. And I tell you, I don't think we encourage each other enough. And more encouragement is always needed. And having a team and building that, I mean, that's just, that's incredible. So from day one, you knew you were not going to be a solo guy in a truck. You knew from day one, I'm going to build an actual company with multiple people, an actual team environment.
Yeah. And I had come from a team environment that I really enjoyed. And so that was at about 18 months in, I had hit a capacity. One of the other reasons I joined or became a home inspector is I wanted to have the ability to coach my children's sports. I wanted to be able to go on every field trip. I wanted the flexibility to go away to the lake. And I knew, being a one-man show, that I wouldn't be able to do those things. That's not the way I'm wired. I want to do things to the max. And so I needed to find a way out of that. So 18 months in, I kind of had found that. I actually got an email from who is now my lead inspector, Blake. It was on December 31st, and he said, hey, I just finished up this building inspection program. I'm looking at becoming a home inspector. I was wondering if you could sit down with me and have some coffee and just like tell me what things you've done to be successful and help me get started. And I was
Did you tell him to work for you for a year for free?
Kidding. We should have.
This is what I did.
For free,
this is the path. This is the way, man. Yeah. Get in that crawl space at night for the next year, and then we'll talk. Yeah.
So we sat down for coffee. It was a good time. And at that time, I had just stumbled upon IEB. I was late night finishing up a report. I've always been in intrigued with self-growth and business.
Yeah.
And so I was really interested in trying to find a program that catered to home inspectors that was focused towards business. So I stumbled upon RGT San Diego, which is it's February of 2020, at the end of February. And I'm like, it's kind of close to my birthday. It's really cold in Minnesota. This sounds like worst case scenario, I go out to this thing and it's garbage. Best case scenario, and the weather's nice. Best case scenario, it's awesome. So I hired one of my friends as a home inspector in the Twin Cities, and I hired him on a commission basis to cover inspections while I was gone. That was February of 2020. Went to RGT. I really loved it. I don't move real fast in decisions, so I was like, I got to think about joining. I joined like March 7th. March 12th, the world shut down. But it gave me time to focus on those things and to help grow our business. That's kind of how we got to having one inspector. From there, I just really dove into all the things that are free and online. IEB did such a fabulous job of saying, hey, here's a roadmap to basically any service business that you can plug and play and to help yourself expand and become successful. And with my accounting background, it really helped just looking at those numbers and seeing that, yes, this is scalable.
Wow. Yeah. And you did that evaluation on a company, which probably showed you one that had maybe a little bit of scale in it, I would imagine.
Well, actually, it was just a one-man shop. That one was just a one-man shop.
Wow.
And I was like, hey, these inspection fees are kind of great. I mean, like, that's a pretty solid inspection fee. Well, if I just did 2 of these a day, and I just started doing the math, and I was like, I think I could make good money working 30 hours a week. That's what was my goal.
Dude, I had a very similar experience looking at starting my company, and it was like that too. I thought, you know what? I looked at the numbers, and I thought, if I could just do like 3 a week, because I have other sources of income, and I thought if I could just do 3 a week, it'd be a nice like side project and something to kind of like fill in my gaps and give the family some spending money, maybe a vacation budget or something, and it was 3 a week. Quickly turned into 10 a week, 12 a week, and then pretty soon I was sleeping and working and because it was just it was just hang on and go for the ride, man. So what are the things that you think contributed to growing as quickly as you did? Because that's a pretty fast trajectory.
Yeah. So I think some big things that we did is we started really early on saying, hey, we would travel anywhere in Minnesota. We're based in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and it's a pretty big state.
That's a big state. Yeah.
Yep. And so I always the reason I marketed that is because I really wanted realtors to know that they could have someone that they trust. In Minnesota, we have a lot of lake homes. So people have their summer homes. They want to go up there. And so in the Twin Cities, a lot of those people have a second home. So we're wanting to go out to that second home and they know they could find someone they could trust. They didn't have to call someone 3 hours away that they have no clue who they are. So that's why I did it, and I want to stay busy. Last thing I wanted to do is not stay busy. I always described it as, my friends would be like, you're driving 3 hours one way for work tomorrow? I'm like, well, if someone told you they had a $500 check 3 hours away, and all you had to do is drive out there to get it, would you go get it? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, that's why I do it. So
Wow.
That's where we started. A couple other things that we did is we guaranteed availability really early on, within 48 hours.
Whoa.
Once they started adding people. We could see the market shifting and the inspection periods getting shorter. And so our goal was always to be able to fit into those. And then
do you
we
still do that? Do you do a guaranteed 48 hours still?
We do. And that's why we continue to hire aggressively.
Okay.
I hope to be able to continue that forever.
Right.
Hope.
Yeah. So that's an interesting concept, right? So you have a 48-hour guarantee, then that means your calendar isn't booked up very far out then, I would imagine, right? Like, or do people still pick out, I'd rather have this 5 days from now?
It really depends on the person. Right now, the market is shifting here in Minneapolis, where we have we're getting longer inspection periods. 7 days become a lot more common, but for the past year and a half, realistically, 18 to 24 months, it's been 3-day windows at max. And so we were having to deal with it anyways, and we knew the one-man shops couldn't keep up with that.
Right.
And that's, I mean, it's just a limitation that you run into when you're a one-man shop. And we knew it was tough for our other larger competitors to offer that because it's just tough to offer. And so we just kind of hung our hat on it and kept on training people. And I had two really, really good grinder inspectors to start,
Okay.
which they were willing to do a lot of inspections.
So they're willing
And
to pick
basically
up
come
like
down.
doing 3 a day and like maybe even working into the evening and working long
Yeah,
hours.
and I mean, we use our software so, I mean, not a plug for Spectora, but our software is so easy to use that we aren't spending time at home on inspections. And
I'm a huge Spectora fan. We run it too, and for a guy that's seasoned that knows what he's doing, a lot of times they can publish on site and from the house. So isn't that such a good feeling? I don't know if you're still in the field or not, but when I was still in the field, and so we have iPads that are on cell service, and then we have laptops, and so the best feeling is, you're talking to everybody on site, and like, that sounds great. I'll get your report, by the end of the day, and and they're like, okay, and so you get out in the truck and just pull up the laptop and clickety click 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 click. You hit send, and then you like look over to see like what are they? Yeah, you know what I mean. You have like that side eye thing, like you're like oh no, what are they gonna do? And then and then all of a sudden their phones come out and they're all like looking at the text messages and they're like look at you and you like wave and you drive off. You're like peace out. Yeah. And their mind is blown. They're like, that guy just sent me this 45-page report with pictures and videos and everything all in like, yeah, this is mind blowing. Having the right tools, man, that stuff helps speed things up. And it's not about the tool. It's about the customer experience and it's about creating systems that work for your business. And yeah, man, I know, right? Shameless plug for Spectora. They make it so easy to do that on our side. And I think it's a great experience for realtors and for home buyers as well. Yeah. So you got a team of people, and now how do you do, this is the next thing, right? So how do you keep a team of people together and cohesive? I mean, the way IAB talks about it is you're getting some values, right? Some values together. But like, what does that look like in your organization with values and like environment and culture and all the different pieces and that? I just, when we were talking it last week, it was like, man, I really want you to talk about this and expand on this a little bit.
Yeah, so something that initially that was very, very easy for us. I mean, it was just me casting my vision.
It's just me, man. My culture is fantastic.
So that was awesome when we started bringing one in. It was a lot of one-on-one. But as we've grown, in March of 2021, we got our own office, and that was partially because of we're in Minnesota. We were still with COVID. Our kids were still at home. My wife was like, "I don't mind being here, but this is awful having the kids here for school." She was trying to do her job, and then I can't be bothered, and so that at certain times of the day,
right?
And it was just a hard boundary for our children. So she's like, I think you need to get out of here. So we started looking for office space. But when we created that office space, what I didn't really understand is that it was going to create a little bit of a disconnect between our office and our service team. And so that's been really challenging. And what we do to try to bring that together is we have monthly meetings where we have all staff. We have weekly meetings that are office, and then we have weekly meetings that are also inspector meetings. But we have an all-staff meeting once a month, and that just brings everybody together. We provide lunch. Oh, sorry,
right.
I don't know how to turn off my phone. I'm not
a big deal.
Not that tech savvy.
That's all right. You need to go book an inspection real quick.
I thought I put it on zero ringer, but that's how good I am.
That's all right.
I'm better at Spectora than I am at my phone. So.
Those are complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we also we have quarterly goals, and if we meet those goals, we've done Top Golf, we've done Twins games. We just had last week, actually on Friday, we call it Marigold Family Barbecue, where we had all of our staff and then their families out, and it was really fun. And we had a bouncy house. I mean, it wasn't anything extravagant. Everyone pitched in. I provided the meat and the all the condiments and the drinks and everything, and then everyone brought a side dish.
That's cool.
And then
That's
we had a
great.
tent, and it was really fun to see who everyone brought. So we have a lot of young families in our group. I mean, most of our inspectors are, I'm one of the older guys. I'm 36.
Dinosaur, man. You're a
Yeah,
dinosaur.
we have a couple ladies in the office that are real old. So they're like 37, 38 years old. But for the most part, all of us have young families.
They
So
might
everyone brought
watch
in their
this and they
family.
might come and be like, bro, you just called us old.
It happens on a weekly basis around here, but
All right.
um, but the best part that we had is that we have a couple interns this summer that have been awesome and very helpful to us. And you know what? They brought their parents and they brought
Oh,
their
wow.
siblings. So like we got to see that aspect. And then we have one inspector that he's almost 60, and he brought his wife, and then he brought his 28-year-old son. Like it was fun to have everyone's full families. I felt like I should have brought my mom and my dad.
That's
But
so cool.
yeah.
Where did you
We-
host
we-
this? At like a park or at your house, or what'd you do?
At our office. We don't have a real big office, about 1,000 square feet, but we have a parking lot, and then there's some green space. So we just
Okay.
put some tables and chairs over there and some music and throw out some bags boards and a bouncy house for the kids. And then we had a surprise visit from, I'm never usually here at 8:30 at night, but the sprinklers turn on that point. So sprinklers hit the bouncy house. The kids loved it. It was a good time.
A wet bouncy house, man. Yeah.
It was.
Man, normally you have to pay extra for that, so that's cool. You got that one for free.
Yeah.
good.
For sure.
All right, so let's talk about company culture. Do you have like values, like company values that you kind of hold up and say like this is who we are and how we value stuff, or is it just kind of organic the way you're describing it?
Yeah, no, I think we definitely have company values, and one of ours is that we want people to be able to work hard but also play hard, and that means a lot of different things. I mean, it doesn't mean we're just out partying. It means we're able to go to our kids' football games or their dance recitals, or if your kid is sick, we want you to take care of your family first. And so something that's been really important to our team is that we pick up for each other when we need that. We had one of our team members had a baby, and we have paternity leave, paid paternity leave, and so it's nice to be able to pick up for someone when they're those special moments, especially when you're having your first child and bringing that into your family. It means a lot, even to me as an employer, to see that they get to unplug and enjoy those things. When they go on vacation, we unplug, we just pick it up for each other, and that is just something that I've come from toxic work environments where it's like, hey, you got to work 60 to 80 hours a week to get ahead, or just to stay status quo because we're understaffed, and I didn't ever want that to be. So we focused on that, and then our operations manager Brittany, she takes that every time I start like tilting a little bit the wrong direction. She's like, nope, Curtis, we're going back. So it's
oh man, that's amazing. It's good to have people like that in your life that kind of like hold you accountable to stuff.
No, it is 100%. She'll be like,
that's really
does
good.
that really fit in with what we said at the beginning? I'm like, fair, okay, yep.
Yeah, that's really good, man. And I think it's so good, like when you build your employees up and you do things that like make their life better, and you really focus on that, it ends up like they then in turn, like they also take care of each other, and now you're taking care of the company, and which it then eventually takes care of you as the owner. And you're right. I think if you put in the ownership first and the business first before the people, eventually you burn people out and you wear them out, and then you don't have anything. And so you've got to put your people first. I love how you say that. Like it's we do a similar thing in our company where it's we call it a work-life balance, and we don't live to work, we work to live, and so we try to keep everybody working 40 hours a week or less, and free, we give people time off as much as they want it or need it, and just invest in the people, and let your people do, let them grow and thrive as individuals. And it's like, if you take care of them, they take care of you, and it turns into a really great working relationship, and creates that good company culture and that environment. That's really good, man.
Yeah, and I think you just have to put yourself in their shoes. We've all been there, right? We've all been at level positions. And what were the things you valued the most? Like I valued my time off the most, right?
Yeah.
So we pay 11 holidays for that reason. Every time our kids are off from school, we want them to be able to be with their kids. So Martin Luther
Wow.
King Day, July 4th. We don't want you working. You can work if you want to, but we don't want you working if you don't have to be. And then we also, I mean, I think it's important as we have these small and we transition from being smaller companies to bigger companies is to create legitimate benefits. And that's, I mean, through PTO, we have PTO that we want our people to use PTO. We don't pay out PTO. We want you to go on vacation with your family. We want you to take
Yeah.
a day off when you need it and breathe,
Yep.
because that's what keeps you from being burned out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the cost of like PTO has a cost to it, to the company, right? And then benefits have a cost to them, and yeah, that was a little eye opening in this process. Is like, man, how much health insurance and different benefits that you can apply, that you can get. Man, there's a real cost, and
Oh, yeah.
and showing even our staff when we were talking about, hey, we're going to add these benefits along the way, and as we start adding them, we're like, this is what it costs, this is what it costs the company. So, and I don't know how you guys run that. We try to be transparent with our numbers with our team so that they just kind of fully understand. Like, it's not like I'm Scrooge McDuck over here swimming in a big, in piles of cash. And
I wish I had a pool of coins though. That'd be pretty sweet.
that would be really sweet, man. Yeah, Scrooge McDuck, right? And like, yeah, but there can be that mentality sometimes. It's like, because you can see, I mean, we all see it. We see the tickets, we see the invoices, and you see what they're charging, and then you're like, well, I see what I'm making and what we're charging, and so being able to like break it down and show like, this is where where the money goes, and then, hey, like, this is where it's cutting into. And I mean, I think it really, I don't know about if you guys do that much, but we do a little breakdown every quarter or every year and talk about, financials, where we're at in the company. And it's, not super detailed, but it's detailed enough that everybody knows, like, okay, we're all pulling our weight and we're all making good money and we're all loving life. And
Awesome.
and the boss man's not making as much as you might think. Like,
Sometimes that is true. Yes. Right.
yeah, absolutely. You're like, hey, guess what? We didn't profit this quarter. Why, boss? Well, we bought 2 vans, we hired 2 people, we did this, and this, and
Invested back in the company. Yeah.
yeah, all the what would have been profit dollars got reinvested into growth, and then they're like, oh shoot, like you didn't get paid. And it's like, I didn't, I took a quarter off to make sure we could make this hurdle, and so it's interesting to do that and kind of get everybody buying in on the same page too, right? That's always kind of fun. Then you're pulling together and you're working together for a common goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a question for you. If you were coaching another company, so if there's another company, and let's just like look back, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where you were like 1, 2 inspectors, and in your mind's eye, you were like, we're going to grow this thing to at least 5. Now you're looking at getting up to 8, maybe even this year. And so if you're looking back at another company who's sitting there too, because there's somebody listening right now who's in that, maybe they're a one-man person thinking like, I want to grow, or maybe they're a 2 or 3 person and they're like, I want to get up to that place of 6, 7, 8. What's some advice that you would give that person? Maybe some things to focus on, or maybe some things to like, don't focus on, avoid these pitfalls.
Yeah. I guess first, if I'm a one-man shop or one-woman shop, my big focus would be on understanding what am I good at and what are my weaknesses, because understanding that's going to really help set your fundamentals up for your growth.
Yeah.
Something I learned early on is like, I could do a lot of things. I think I'm a pretty versatile person inside my business. I can inspect. I designed our first website. It wasn't the best thing in the world, but I got a lot of compliments on it. I kind of patted myself on the back a few times when realtors would say that's way better than other inspectors' website.
They didn't even have one, right?
Right?
Yeah, so the bar was low, right?
Very, very low.
It was better than those other guys. He said, yeah.
And I could do finances and I could do sales. And so those things are, things are all important, but I also understood my limitations is when I was doing all these inspections, I was able to pull in Brittany, who's our operations manager. I mean, she's been an absolute godsend. I mean, like, I've known Brittany since I was in 6th grade, she was in 7th grade. She's my wife's best friend.
Wow.
And she 4-year business degree. She is an outstanding, just mind when it comes to the business. And she balances me very well. But I also knew she's one of those people that can do a little bit of everything. And so I pulled her in to do operation stuff just 10 hours a week. She's like, I don't even think you're going to have work for me 10 hours a week. I'm like, no, I'll have work for you. And so it went from 10 to 15 to 20 to like right now she's like in the 25 to 30 hours a week. And if she ever wants to go 40, she can go 40 tomorrow. But that's where her family was in a stage of life where she was a stay-at-home mother. And I got to utilize someone with extremely high talents. And I've always paid her well, but it was a low investment in terms of hours. She could get more done in 10 hours a week than most people could get done in 20. Wow. And she helped just drive things forward and building our new website and integrations and like driving us into Spectora. I wasn't with Spectora before her, and just helping with all the things that come with business. She's a fabulous person. She's kind of like our HR go-to because I might say stuff that's just a little bit not HR friendly. So,
oh man, that's a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I want to say this, but I know that's probably not the right way to phrase it. Yeah. So, right. Well, yeah, you got to be mindful. Right. That's good.
So that's one of the things I would say.
Okay.
Understand what you need.
So find your strengths, know what your weaknesses and your strengths are, and then staff your weaknesses is what you're saying. Or right? Yeah. Staff
maybe
your weaknesses.
You're that guy that can do 700 inspections a year. I'm not that guy.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you're that guy. I mean, I see those inspector forums on Facebook, and some guy will say he did like 700 a year. I'm like,
I know, right?
Hate your life.
You're sleeping and working. That sounds terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe you're that guy, and maybe that's what you love. So maybe it's other pieces that need to be taken care of in order to grow. But the other thing is like when you do have someone that's with you, delegate, and trust them. Being able to trust that Brittany's going to do her work, and now we have a client care coordinator, Sarah. I mean, awesome at her job. We have a growth person, Ron. Ron does all of our sales, and like, I don't look over their shoulders. We look at, hey, what are the key performance indicators we need to have, and are we accomplishing them? And how are we accomplishing them? And we sit down and we have weekly meetings, and we come up with plans on how we're going to do things. But I don't tell them how to do their job. I trust them to be better at their job than me. I always try to build a team where I'm the weakest person. I would be a heck of a team.
That's incredible. Like that's incredible leadership skills right there. Just what you said of like, I'm not going to tell them how to do their job. I'm just going to, like, we have some KPIs and we check in, but they get to develop their strategy of how they're going to accomplish the goals.
Correct. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I make it very clear how they're going to be incentivized. And then we just try to say, hey, are we going to be able to accomplish those things with how you're getting there? Or what do you think about taking this avenue? And realistically, it's up to them. And I give people full permission. If Sarah needs to make a sale on the phone and she needs to offer $50 off or whatever to make it happen, or if something needs to be done to smooth over something that didn't go right at a property, just make it happen. Like, I don't want to waste my time with that. No one wants to waste their time with it. And you just go back and forth and you spend more time than it's worth. And so just having the flexibility and the empowerment, I think, really helps people in their positions.
Yeah, that's really incredible. Yeah, it does. It really empowers them and helps them to do it. That's such a great way to approach it. All right, so we've got find your strengths and your weaknesses, staff your weaknesses, and then empower those people that you've staffed to be able to do their job. So basically, trust but verify, but that they're doing it. I mean, obviously, if you hired somebody and they're not good enough to do the job, you hired the wrong person, probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe is there anything else you would say? Maybe something that was there any mistakes that in hindsight you look back to? Oh, that slowed me down unnecessarily, or something that maybe you did that you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done it that way, or I had to learn a lesson the hard way that maybe our audience doesn't have to learn the hard way.
Yeah, I don't think that we've run into anything that's been really hard to overcome at this point.
Yeah.
But what I would say is just be willing to pivot, because you will see that stuff's not working pretty frequently. And just having the ability to say, hey, that isn't going to work for us long term. That's not scalable. And to be able to identify that early, I'd say trust your gut. I mean, that's kind of the biggest thing. Everything that we've run into is trust your gut. I mean, right now, we're in the midst of, we changed our training program. We're in an unlicensed state. So basically anyone can just hop in and become an inspector. But we have a higher standard for our inspectors. And so our lead inspector, Blake, right now is doing an awesome job of just recreating our training program. We went from, it was varying because we let people complete their InterNACHI stuff online, and then we'd bring them in, we do field training. And for some people that would take 3 months. For other people, it would take 8. And it's just not sustainable. And it was hard for us to project. We can't project off of that. So we've created a 5-week program, Blake and I together, and he's spearheading it.
Wow.
And just doing an awesome job.
Wow.
And so
five weeks, that's a pretty short timeline. So you've got it organized now to be able to do that. That's incredible.
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're having morning is classroom time. We're paying people to do classroom time in the office, and what that does is that integrates them with the office. It gives them the ability to meet our client care coordinator. We have a very open office, so you're going to sit next to everybody. Our whole team's there. We're not real big. They get to interact with Brittany, our operations manager. They get to operate with Ron, who's doing sales. And then I get to see them every day. And then in the afternoon, they are out in the field. So they're learning based upon what they learn in the morning. They're getting field training. And so it's a really tight schedule to get 5 weeks. We have a bonus at 5 weeks. If it goes 6 weeks, they don't get the bonus. But I think everyone should be between 5 and 7 weeks is really realistic. So
okay,
we'll find out. This is the first one we're trying it with. But he's doing outstanding.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting. I'm going to check up on that. I'm going to follow up with you on that. And see how that's going. So you and I are both part of IEB, which is Inspection Empire Builder. And what has IEB done? Like since joining IEB, what do they provide? What have they done that has helped you in your process of growing your company?
I think seeing those fundamentals right in front of me. I mean, going to an RGT right off the bat, I was able to see like the first guy I hired, and I come from a business and accounting background. I could already see that, okay, what I'm doing probably isn't fully scalable. And so he's locked in at a higher rate than other inspectors in terms of he only handles overflow, so he doesn't have the stability, but he also gets paid more than I couldn't have had that as my model. And it was easy right away to identify this is going to be a problem point if I stay on this path. So I was able to restructure that right away, get it going in the right direction. The other thing is I really enjoy just the weekly calls, being able to get in there and just keep things in front of you. And there might be stuff that's hitting different parts of the nation that I feel like California seems to hit stuff a few weeks before it trickles over to Minnesota. I don't know what that is. They should be
I feel
behind
the same
us
way.
based on time. Based on time, they should be behind us. They're 2 hours on the other side, but somehow they're ahead of us all the time on those trends. So we try to pay attention to what's going on there, and even on the East Coast. I mean, we see a lot down in Atlanta and Florida where it's a different market, but it can also spark interest of like, ooh, maybe we should be looking into this before it comes to us, so we can be prepared. And then the other thing is the pods. I mean, it's basically for anyone that went to a church small group, which it's outstanding. In terms of you just get to sit down with businesses your size and that are having similar issues. Every week I'm so surprised at how similar our businesses are, even though they're 600 miles apart, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I would say that's really good. So you just mentioned something that IEB helped you with the financial model on compensation for your inspector. So as a pitfall for someone who's trying to grow, if you don't have your numbers right, you can grow yourself into collapse.
Yep. Right?
Like that's something that if you're growing, like that's something that I think every one of us is tempted to do because we are like, hey, we want to take care of our people. But yeah, they have, actually it's a free tool on their website, right on the iebcoaching.com website. You don't even have to be a member, and they have an inspector cost calculator, and it helps you understand how much is that inspector actually costing the company. Because you got to factor in payroll taxes, you got to factor in transportation, tools, any of the other things that your uniforms, anything you're providing. But yeah, if you overcompensate the inspector, then you start taking the overhead factor in, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, like I'm upside down and I'm actually losing money, and that isn't good for anybody. So yeah, I thought that was a really helpful tool that IEB put together.
The other side to that, inspector cost calculator is I think it will also make you aware of the things you aren't paying attention to. Some of the things you're like, what do I actually pay for that? And then you have to break it down and do the math. It's not like something that you're just going to go and be like, done, unless you really know your numbers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you buy swag, right? Do you buy stuff with logos on it? And so, you got another call. Book that inspection, man. Yeah, so like we have hats, right? We have hats for our company. And, and they got logos on them and the company stuff on it. And it's like, hey, that's fun. Let's buy that stuff. Well, that technically that's uniforms for inspectors. It calls on it, but it's like, oh, I just dropped $1,200 on a bunch of hats. You don't really put it together. They're like, well, you wouldn't have bought that many hats.
You've been listening to Empire State of Mind for the home inspection industry and beyond. Our passion is to elevate the home inspection industry with mindset, strategy, and tools. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. For more, follow on Instagram at IEB Coaching. And don't forget to hit the website at www.iebcoaching.com. Learn about IEB at no cost and have all your questions answered on our open call once a month on the third week of the month. We hope to see you there, and we'll see you next time on the Empire State of Mind.